In this demonstration, I'm going to walk you through how to create a pivot table, group like line items, and also create calculated fields to reproduce calculations that you'll have already likely created in a flat data sheet. First things first, you want to start with a fully flat data sheet. Whenever you hear that term, that just means that all data is grouped and organized by column, such that each line item has all the same attributes calculated for each of them. So these are a series of dummy emails that have been sent uh, by anyone. But for this example, it's an e-commerce website. So each deployment has a date, column for day, column for total sends, so on and so forth. So all attributes are available for every single line item. So let's start here. So you're going to start with this type of spreadsheet that you can get as an export from MailChimp or any other ESP, or most exported data sheets from any analytic systems usually comes in a form that is easily pivotable. So let's start. First, you want to make sure you select columns A1 through the rest of the table. So you want to make sure you have the entire table highlighted, so the entire sheet. You don't want extra, you don't want to do something like this or like this, where you have extra blank cells and rows or columns and rows. You want to make sure that you have everything ending at the very bottom corner of your data sheet. You're going to go to Data, Top, you're going to click Pivot Table, and then you'll see that it has created another new tab for you, along with an already defaulted pivot table format here. So it's already gone ahead and dragged a bunch of different values in, columns, values, row labels, etc. Um, these are just populated by default, so you can get rid of these by clicking and holding and pulling out, clicking and holding, and repeating that process. So now you have a fully blank pivot table available for you. So first let's go through pulling in field names into row labels here. Let's just say we want to understand how each campaign performed first, and then we want to create a calculated field. So first, once you have your campaign pulled in, and you know that we want to look for open rate, um, we will go ahead and create a calculated field. So that's underneath pivot table, formulas, calculated fields. And then from here, we're going to name this. Let's call this open rate. And because an open rate column already exists in the flat data sheet, we'll have to rename it. So let's just call it open rate 2. And then under formula, you have to hit equals. I always recommend clearing whatever's in there and starting over. And then open rate is a function of opens, insert field, divided by, so slash mark, divided by total sends, so total deployments, opens over total sends. Right? So don't hit add, don't hit anything else, just hit OK. And then there you have open rate here. It'll show as total until you add more fields, but for now it'll just say total. For example, if I pulled in total sends here under values, it should say open rate. Right? So let's just remove this because we just want to observe open rate. And then we see here that all the numbers currently are in a decimal, many decimals long. So we wanted this to show as a percentage all the time. So what you do is you click any one of the values in here, go to field settings, hit number, and then we want this to be a percentage. So then we'll jump down to percentage, and then we want it to show, because we don't need any decimal showing for an open rate, let's bring this to 0, and it shows you a sample here. And then we hit OK. You can also rename the column because it wants to rename it for you once you created it. I usually just highlight that, hit a space sign, so it's clean, and then I hit OK. And then you'll see here all these are now showing opens. So you can go on, and you can create many different calculated fields to your needs, but there's just one example. And now let's say we want to group each of these newsletters into like themes. So in this situation, we want to group them into months because we have all the campaigns have been named December, October, September. So we want to look at it by month. We don't want to look at it per deployment. So from here, you're going to grab the first cell that you're looking for to the last cell that you're looking to cluster or group. You're going to right-click that. You don't need to click and hold out to the column, just keep it here. Right click, go down to Group and Outline, Group, and you'll see that it started to create a group for you. And then under group name, all this text is editable here, so let's call this December and hit enter. And then you'll see that it has started to cluster. It starts to use the same format for all the remaining line items. Don't worry. This is simple. All you need to do is grab October through October, like you did earlier. And then let's go to group again. And you'll see this is now October. Enter. And the same goes for September. Let's grab, click and hold. Right. Let's group and outline group. And then September. Right? So now that you have all these broken out, you want to see, okay, well, you'll say, maybe, perhaps I like that all these are showing all this detail, but I want to know what it looks like all rolled up. So you can click under pivot table, subtotals, and it says at the top, but that's actually not showing anything, so you need to click at the top again, right, like such, and then you'll see your totals here. And let's say, for example, you don't want to see these line items anymore, you can always collapse them like this. Alternatively, you can get rid of, these line items here because you'll see it has now named these groups campaign 2. You can remove the original campaign fields, and then all you're left with is the calculated field you created, which is open rate, and then by month. That will conclude this demonstration for how to create pivot tables and calculated fields.